none other than Dusty Baker's in the house with us on 95.7 The Game. And all right, first and foremost, what's up, Keon? Our guy. Oh yeah, Barrier Station. Well, and now you're back a part of the Bay Area.
Yes,
so we got something for you here.
Yeah, well,
first things first.
Dusty.
Tell us about what we
he
got
gave
going
me
on.
something of my own. You know what I mean, which is cool.
Oh, Baker Family Wines.
Yeah,
Look
Baker
at that.
Family Wines out of West Sacramento. You know, we were at Treasure Island for about 4 or 5 years, but the drive was killing me back and forth and killing my winemaker, so we decided to move back to Sacramento. So I would start growing grapes about when I moved to Sacramento about 18, 19 years ago.
Well, what's it like to be back in, obviously longtime manager here for the San Francisco Giants, kid attend Cal, succeeding now in, I believe, the national system.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's it like, being here now, back in the Bay Area, retired on top as a World Series champ, but now being here and really being ingrained in the community?
Well, I've been coming here since 1965 when my folks first moved to Sacramento from Riverside, California. So, this is home to me. I mean, between Oakland, Berkeley, Richmond, hanging out in San Francisco, Golden Gate Park, and in the Fillmo or the Filthy Mo, and going to Winterland and various places here. This is home, and this is where I feel very, very comfortable. It was so cool to come back here to manage, and I lived here for 15 years, 5 years as a coach, 10 years as a manager, and then I moved to Sacramento because my dad, got sick with dementia, and so me and my brother decided to go home and help my stepmom and my sister out. So, it's always a pleasure. When I come across that Bay Bridge, man, it's like, all right, here we go.
Well, I kind of feel that same way talking to you, Dusty, because as a kid from the Bay Area, grew up a big Giants fan and grew up watching your Giants teams. I mean, It's just great to have you back in the organization because the Giant, I can't think of the Giants without thinking of you, Dusty. You're a big part of this organization.
Well, thank you. I mean, a lot of kids tell me that. They say, oh, man, I grew up with you, or, you got me interested in baseball. And from Candlestick to the new stadium then, what is it now, like 20 years old?
25 years old.
Is it really?
2000 was the first year.
Oh, my God,
Pac Bell
because
into AT&T.
Yeah, well, it was still Pac Bell to me. I can't keep up with all these names, but, I mean, it was great, man. We had some great teams. The thing that we wanted to do was to pimp into the new stadium versus limping in, because we wanted to go in a winner. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to build a winner coming in there because, the team was privately out of private money, so therefore they needed the PSL licensing money, I think is what it's called. Mm-hmm. And, we helped build that stadium. And, when they got Barry Bonds, Barry put a whole bunch of bricks in that stadium. And Jeff Kent and, all the great players that we had, Robbie Thompson, Will Clark, and, man, it was outstanding. I mean, Matt Woods, I loved those guys, and I loved those teams.
Well, all those guys you mentioned, along with yourself, put a lot of butts in those seats as well.
I hear you.
I'm curious. You mentioned Barry. Did you ever think that he'd be a guy that would be willing to put down the bat and do something like tonight, where he's over in Oakland coaching the celebrity game? Like, he's a part of All-Star Weekend, and it's crazy to see as a kid someone grow up and idolizing them to now being like, well, he's just one of the guys now, and he's over there in Oakland doing his thing.
So, I mean, Barry's a star, and he's been a star a long time, and his dad was a star, and like I tell you, I'm from Riverside originally, and my dad was Bobby Bonds, Barry's father's Little League coach, and I helped Barry the day he was born. So we're all from Riverside, but transferred, to the north. And to me, I think it's a natural for Barry to be coaching the celebrities, and I think it's a well-deserved, accolades that Barry, is brought back into the forefront and the light of things of life, because Barry put more butts in the seats, man, than anybody. And when Barry, it's very rare that you have the person and the athletes that people can't even use the bathroom because they got to wait to see Barry hit.
I wouldn't.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to hold it, man. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I'm not going to the kitchen and get a sandwich. Hold up, I'll be there in a minute. And there are very few athletes. Michael Jordan, Barry, Hank Aaron, and there was a time where Sosa and McGuire, was doing the same thing, and the same thing in Oakland with Canseco and McGuire. But Barry was the top of them all.
I'm curious, Dusty. I remember NBA celebrity games in the past when Barry would play in them. Think of him playing like with Ken Griffey Jr. I'm curious, your travels around Major League Baseball, who's the best basketball player that you coached, you managed, you played with, anything like that? Does anyone stand out to you?
Me.
You? You were a good basketball player?
No, I was pretty good there.
Okay.
I didn't want to start bragging. But,
I like it.
But something, most ball players can play basketball. I think most of them. That's a sport that you can play by yourself. You can make up games. You only need one ball for 10, 11 guys to play basketball. You don't need gloves. You don't need bats. And, something, they have some pretty good basketball players. I would imagine that, Mookie Betts could play, big time. And, I had Ellis Burks. Robbie Thompson was a heck of a basketball player. I had some dudes, but see, I hurt my leg playing basketball when I got traded to the Dodgers in the wintertime. And see, we had teams back then, and we trained by playing basketball. There weren't too many weights around. I started lifting after I hurt my leg, but there were teams that had basketball teams that traveled in the wintertime playing, to raise money. Cincinnati Reds had a team. Cincinnati Reds, Bobby Tolan ruptured his Achilles, so therefore they wouldn't let us play basketball after a while. And, when I was with the Braves, we played basketball against the Atlanta Hawks. No, not the Hawks, the Falcons, the basketball team. But the only thing about playing those guys in basketball, football players, if you start beating them, now they want to try to play football.
Well, that's funny you mention this. I've had a chance to play pickup with Tarek Skubal, who's obviously a great athlete. He's pretty good.
Oh man, I bet he got a sweet left-handed shot.
He's also pretty bouncy. He's got real strong legs. Thank you very much.
Really?
But I'm curious.
He got some hops?
He does. He does. How many basketball players have you met that could play baseball?
Well, that's pretty good. They claim they can play.
That's why I'm asking, because it feels like a lot of them feel like, well, I can play basketball
than hitting the
Anthony
ball,
Edwards.
I'm not kidding you.
I'm number one in baseball. I'm number one in this. Well,
but
I got to see it.
Well, the guys that had the most trouble that I've seen playing baseball are football players. Now, talking to Magic Johnson back in the day and Kareem Jabbar, oh yeah, they were a heck of a baseball players. But I said Magic and Kareem, you got the strike zone about 8 feet. they can mess with you there. And I remember Clyde the Glide Drexler. He told me he was a heck of a baseball player. But a lot of these guys, they love other sports. I mean, there's not a sport really that I really don't like if I can get into it and understand it, which I'm trying to get into pickleball because I really don't know and understand pickleball. All I know is when I drive by some courts that used to be tennis courts and they're packed with cars, and I had to go over there to see what the heck was going on, and they're all pickleball courts, and then when I'm going down to my condo down the peninsula on 101, I saw last night, I was going to Kincaid's to go eat, and I looked over and a giant sign on the right-hand side down San Mateo said tennis and pickleball. And it was a huge facility, so it looks like this is catching on. I just got to get a better understanding of how you play and what the rules are.
Well, Rick Barry is 80 years old and is apparently one of the best pickleball players. So it's the fact that you could do it at whatever age. I don't know if
that don't shock me.
Knee,
but that don't shock me that Rick is a heck of a pickleball player. Because see, I went to the Squaw Valley Warriors basketball camp when I was 16.
Wow.
And that's where I first met Al Laddles and became friends with Al, until he died. And Rick Barry is one of the coaches, and I played against Rick Barry's brother-in-law at the time. I think he went to Bishop O'Dowd, I think maybe in Oakland. I'm not really sure. He went to one of those Catholic schools.
Go Dragons, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I got the MVP of the camp, and so I got to play against Rick Barry, me and I think his brother-in-law's name is Alan Hale, I think. Man,
it's gotta be a thrill for a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, but I didn't have a chance. I've never seen a guy that's 6'8", quicker than you, stronger than you, jump higher than you, and shoot better than you. And I was like, dang, I think I better choose another sport.
Pretty darn competitive too.
Very competitive.
Who's in your experience in Major League Baseball? Who's the most experienced or the most competitive player you remember, whether you were managing or playing with them? Who stands out?
Most competitive, probably Hank Aaron and Reggie Smith. You know, I mean, those two are the best players that I played with, and highly competitive. You know, like Barry, you know, they had a vision, you know, beyond compare. They saw things that other people didn't see. And, you know, Ken Griffey Jr., but it was toward the end of his career. Like I keep mentioning Ellis Burks. Oh, Will the Thrill.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Will was highly competitive. So was Matt Williams. And, you know, hey, man, it was so much fun managing those teams because, you know, I could have played with those guys and they could have played with us.
No doubt. Justy Baker joining us here on 95.7 The Game. No introduction needed in this town. Speaking of, this town is hosting the All-Star Game, obviously, at Chase Center on Sunday. As someone, I imagine, you know, sounds like an avid fan of the NBA, who are you looking forward to watching compete? Well, I don't know if compete's the right word necessarily.
Which sport?
In the All-Star game.
In the All-Star, I'm going to the All-Star game. I'm not going to the slam dunk. I'm taking my 3 and 5-year-old grandsons.
Nice.
You know, this will be their first basketball game. So they're going to get spoiled.
And if you could introduce them to anyone on Sunday, who do you think you would introduce them to?
Boy.
You got some good options.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Steph and LeBron and KD.
Yeah. Well, my son, you know, we saw LeBron's first game as a pro in Sacramento.
Wow.
Yeah, with Cleveland, and that's my son's favorite. Now, some of them I can't pronounce their names. Okay, and I don't want to butcher their names. I just know who they are. I know their numbers. Like
they got game.
Yeah, like number 34. You know, with Milwaukee.
Giannis.
Giannis. Giannis.
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah. Okay. Because see,
from Doncic.
Okay.
You know?
Oh yeah. Ooh, some bad dudes.
Victor Wembanyama.
Oh yeah. Now, seeing from being in the military and from being in sports. It's easier for us to remember last names than first names. That's why I said I didn't want to butcher some of these guys' names.
Oh no!
You'd have been laughing all the way as soon as I left the room.
Oh, you're good.
No. You got free reign here.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so funny. I do want to ask you. So I had a chance to read Howard Bryant's book about Hank, and you mentioned him a couple times. But you've had a chance to see stars in just about every generation of baseball. Do you think that there's, I don't know, like just a common theme or something that kind of differentiates those guys, whether it's playing with Hank, managing someone like Barry, now seeing players, I don't know if it's Soto or, you know, Judge, whoever it is, but is there a common thread throughout the history of baseball that you find in superstars?
Well, I would say vision, concentration, you know, confidence, you know, balance. I mean, these guys, you know, they're never out of balance. And, you know, I was very, very lucky. Not only did I play with Hank, but against Willie Stargell and against Willie Mays and Pete Rose and Joe Morgan and these guys. And I even played when I was 19 years old, played with Satchel Paige and listened to, you know, some of his stories. But then I was fortunate enough to, like, when I got traded to the Dodgers, you know, to have Maury Wills and Jim Gilliam around as a coach and Roy Campanella and Sandy Koufax, and just talking to these guys and just trying to pick their brain on things. And, you know, most of them tend to be on the quiet side, but if you show them respect and ask the right kind of questions, then they will open up and tell you and help you not only in your game but help you in your life as well.
That's amazing. I want to ask you about the current Giants because another season is about to get started. Buster Posey, new president of baseball operations, big acquisition this offseason, Willie Adames. What do you think about Buster as the leader of the franchise from the front office, and what do you think of Willie Adames?
Well, you know, I hope Buster does an outstanding job because people, it's not easy to transfer from the field to the front office. But evidently the Giants had faith in Buster that he could do it. You got to surround yourself with with the right people. You got to be strong. You got to be smart, like Buster is. And I think Buster's going to do an outstanding job. Willie Adames, I don't know a whole bunch about him. I've seen him, from the other side of the field. First I saw him in Tampa Bay, and I was surprised, but not surprised that Tampa Bay, traded him because, they don't pay a lot of money.
That's what they do.
Did I do that right? But
he was pretty good in Milwaukee.
Yeah, He was great in Milwaukee, and
same thing came into play.
Oh yeah, and I'm hoping that Justin Verlander, sets the tone for the pitching staff, because this guy, man, I had him. I mean, this guy was outstanding, and I think it's going to be he's going to have a good year, I think, because he's 2 years removed from our operation, and usually it takes that long for a guy. But I know.
How important is it to have a veteran arm in your staff? I know that the game is all about young guns and guys who throw 100 miles an hour. And Verlander certainly used to be a guy who could do that. But to have someone with that 20 years of experience pitching at a high level, what's it like to have someone, to manage someone like that and have that on your staff?
Well, I was the same way, when I was with Hank as a kid. What's important about that is that a coach can tell you something, the manager can tell you something, but a player can tell you and show you, because most players can emulate anything, a batting stance, a shooting form, or whatever it is. But for a guy to tell you and then show you how to do it, then you will pick up on it immediately. And to have a guy like that, it's a stabilizer. He was a stabilizer for me, because I could go full bullpen the day before he pitched, and I could go full bullpen the day after he pitched, because he was usually going to give me 7 innings, not 5 2/3 or 6. He's going to give me 7 innings, and that's big on your team, especially when you're playing consecutive games. And people don't realize sometimes how hard it is, especially on the pitching staff, when you're playing 10, 12, 14 games in a row. I mean, you see how hard it is for the NBA guys.
Oh yeah.
When you got to play that second night. Well, it's the same way in baseball. So Verlander's I love the guy, and he.
Was it hard to take the ball from him?
No, not really, because he trusted me, and he trusted Maldonado, my catcher, and if I'd never ask, "Are you through?" I'd never ask Maldy, "Was that enough?" But I'd look at him and he'd give me a wink. That man, that's enough, and then I'd take the ball. And if he looked at me straight, I don't think even Verlander even knew what we were doing.
And this Giant staff, obviously you've got Logan Webb, you've got Robbie Ray, a couple of established veterans.
Robbie Ray's going to be a big one. I mean, because this guy can pitch. I'm just hoping that he's happy. Go ahead, man. What you're saying?
So, I'm a fan of Robbie Ray too. But other than that, Austin, obviously Justin as well. But then you got a bunch of young guys who are kind of trying to make their way.
Yeah.
What's the impact someone like Justin can have on those guys? Because I imagine all those youngsters, Hayden Birdsong and company and Kyle Harrison, they grew up watching Justin win Cy Young after Cy Young.
And not only that, see, like I remember Brother Brown, I call him, in with the Astros. And the first day I saw him in spring training, I said, "Hey man," I said, "I like your windup." I said, "Man, you got a heck of a delivery." And I says, "Where'd you learn that from? A college coach, or you learned it from your dad?" And he goes, "Learned it from Justin Verlander." I said, "You know Verlander?" He says, "No, but I watched him every day on TV, and so he copied his windup and his delivery." And I said, "Would you like to meet him?" He goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." So I called Justin. Justin took him out to dinner, and now the kid's on his way. So, it's I remember Hank here telling us a long time ago, and Orlando Cepeda, that's who told me one time. He said, "Dusty, whatever you learn in this game is not yours to possess, is yours to pass on." And as long as these guys keep passing on, then we're going to have a high-quality game.
Well, we appreciate you passing on a lot of knowledge just in this time you spent with us. So sincerely, thank you for coming on.
Make sure you pass on.
I was going to say
some wine someday. Okay?
Of course.
You like wine or
absolutely?
Do I like wine? Well, unfortunately, we're on camera right now, but I'd ask if you could crack it. Maybe
During
turn
a
it off
break.
during the commercial break.
All right,
but please remind the people just where it is again.
Oh yeah, it's West Sacramento, Baker Family Wines. You can look us up on the. I'm not a real internet type dude, but
we'll do it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Baker Family. Thank you so
All right,
much,
guys.
Dusty. Thank you for coming on.
Later.
Yeah,
right on.
Appreciate it, Dusty.
All
Thanks.
right. Good luck, you guys.
All right,
Thanks, you too.
no doubt. Dusty Baker, longtime manager across Major League Baseball, obviously World Series champ during his time as a player, and most recently World Series champ with the Houston Astros. 3-time manager of the year, joining us here on 95.7 The Game.